Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to my channel. The blackout technique using embossing folders has definitely been one of the most popular trends this year, and I have to admit, it's one of my personal favorites too. I just love how it transforms almost any embossing folder into something truly stunning. Today, as we celebrate the brand new and everything nice release from Simon's Stamp, I couldn't resist reaching for this absolutely gorgeous branching holly embossing folder from the collection. I'll be using it to share this beautiful blackout technique with you all, so let's jump right in. Let's first take a look at this absolutely gorgeous embossing folder. It's called Branching Holly. Now, this is a 3D embossing folder that features those beautiful shrub details, including the prickly holly leaves and the red berries. If you look closely, you'll also notice the delicate, intricate texture on the branches. It's absolutely stunning. Now, even though we are still early in November, this one definitely gives me those festive Christmas vibes, full of color, sparkle, and cheer. To get started, I'll be embossing a white cardstock panel, which is cut to 4 by 5 and quarter inches. Now, whenever I'm using panels with the embossing folder, before running the sandwich through my die cutting machine, I like to lightly mist the paper with water. Now, this helps soften the paper fibers and prevents any cracking as it goes through the die cutting machine. Well, I absolutely love the details on this. Now, here's a closer look at those beautiful, intricate details. They are absolutely stunning. Now, if you're not into the blackout technique, this folder works wonderfully for ink blended backgrounds as well, or even as a simple embossed panel paired with a bold layered focal point. For the blackout technique, we'll be working on the debossed side of the panel. That's the side where the design is pressed into the paper rather than the raised side, which is the embossed side. Now, for this particular technique, you can choose to add color in a few different ways. You could ink blend over the debossed areas using your mini ink blending brushes, or like I'm doing here, you can also use your alcohol markers to color in those etched designs. I'm using my go-to markers, the Ohuhu alcohol markers. Now, this one I have is a smaller 48 color set, but it comes in both brush tip and chisel tip. I'll be using the brush tip to carefully add color to all those beautiful details within the design. The best part about this technique is that you don't have to be super precise with your coloring, and that's honestly what makes it so relaxing and fun to do. No pressure at all. You don't need to worry about staying perfectly inside the lines or making sure that every leaf is shaded just right. Because in the end, once you add that layer of black ink, everything will blend beautifully, and those tiny imperfections will actually add more depth and character to your piece. For my coloring, I'm sticking with the traditional holiday shades, a few rich tones of red for the holly berries, a mix of darker greens for the leaves, and I'll be using a couple of different shades of each of those colors to give a little variation and movement so the overall design does not look very flat. For the branches, I have used a few shades of browns. You'll notice that in some areas the branches are really thin and almost blend into the background. That's totally fine. Don't stress about trying to get every tiny corner or detail. The beauty of this technique is that all of those fine, delicate lines will pop right back into view once we apply the blackout layer. So at this stage, just enjoy adding color to the design. Think of it as a loose, stress-free coloring. There is no right or wrong way to do it. Once you have all your leaves, berries, and branches filled in, we'll move on to the fun part, which is swiping the black ink across the panel to create that dramatic, rich blackout effect that really makes all of those colors shine through. At this stage, your panel might look a little messy, the colors may seem uneven, and the whole design might not make any sense yet. But don't worry, that's completely normal. This is one of those techniques where you really have to trust the process. Right now, you're seeing those scattered pops of color sitting inside the debossed areas, but once we bring in the ink and add the blackout layer over the top, everything will transform beautifully. The design that looks a little untidy at the moment will suddenly come to life with incredible depth and contrast. and it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. Usually, when I'm working on the blackout techniques, I like to use darker shades of ink. It doesn't necessarily have to be black, any deep, rich tone works beautifully for this effect. In the past, I have even tried deep blues and warm browns, and they've looked just as stunning. Now, for this card, I'm bringing my panel over to a scrap piece of paper and I'll be using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad to swipe across the surface. Normally, when I do the blackout technique, I like to apply the ink with a heavier hand. That way, I get a nice even layer of dark color all over the panel. But this time, I wanted to do something a little different, so I gave the background a bit more texture and movement instead of that smooth, solid finish. So instead of pressing the ink pad firmly, I'm holding it at a slight angle and gently gliding it over the panel. Now, this creates a more uneven textured look, which adds so much character to this background. Now, if I had chosen a brown ink instead of this black one, the same technique would have created a really beautiful wood grain like effect. So, definitely something you could try if you want a softer, more rustic look. Now, I'm swiping the ink pad just a couple of times, always in one direction to maintain that texture. After the first layer of ink, I noticed a few tiny areas where I had missed some coloring earlier. So I went back in with my alcohol markers to fill in those areas. Once all the spots were touched up, I'll go back one more time with my ink pad and gently swipe across the panel again. This will deepen the color, giving it that rich blackout look, but still keeps that beautiful textured finish intact. I have to say, I'm already in love with this panel. I just adore how each colored area pops so beautifully against that rich textured black background. The contrast is really amazing. Now, what's a festive card without a little shine and sparkle? So, once I was done with swiping my ink pad across the panel, I took the panel over to my splatter box and gave it a generous spray of the silver shimmer mist. This adds the perfect touch of holiday magic, just the right amount of shine and sparkle that catches the light beautifully when you tilt the panel. Now, while the shimmer mist is drying and doing its thing, we will move on to create the sentiment for our card. For my sentiment today, I'll be using the Joy, Word, and Shadow die from the Holiday Duo die set. The set was part of the previous Sugar and Spice release by Simon, and I have to say, I'm absolutely in love with the font of these. Now, these dies are super versatile. You can easily pair them with your favorite stamped images or use them as standalone dies. To add a little shimmer and tie that festive feel, I decided to cut the word joy from silver glitter cardstock by Your Paper Insider. And for my shadow layer, I used vellum, which gives it that soft, airy look while still letting a bit of that background to shine through. Here's a closer look at that absolutely gorgeous, sparkly silver glitter cardstock. Isn't it stunning? I just love how it catches the light and adds that instant festive touch. But once I placed the sentiment over my inked panel, I noticed that it was getting a little lost against that busy textured background. The vellum shadow, while soft and pretty, just didn't give enough contrast for the sentiment to really stand out. So, to fix that, I decided to cut another sentiment, this time changing the shadow layer. Now, instead of vellum, I went with black cardstock for the shadow, and honestly, that small little change made such a big difference. The black cardstock not only helps the silver glitter joy die cut to pop beautifully, but it also anchors the sentiment against that dark background, making it so much more visible and balanced. It's such a simple tweak, but it completely transforms the overall look of our card. I popped up the sentiment piece using foam tape and mounted it right onto my panel. Now that the sentiment was in place, all we had to do is assemble the panel onto an A2 size card base. With all that beautiful texture and dimension, I decided to pop the entire panel as well, so I used foam tape to attach it onto the card base. That way, the panel really stands out and gives the card a nice layered look. At this stage, you could call this card done, but I just couldn't resist adding a little extra shine and sparkle. So I went ahead and grabbed the Prism Positively Dazzling Gems and scattered a few around the sentiment for that festive pop. Then I added some shiny silver stickers to the holly berries to really turn up the holiday vibe. And with that, our card is officially finished. I love how the blackout technique, layered sentiments, and the sparkly accents all came together to create a rich festive design. If you're feeling inspired, I definitely encourage you to try this blackout technique for yourself. It's such a versatile and fun technique, and you can really make it your own with different inks, colors, and embossing folders. Also, don't forget to check out the new and everything nice release at Simon System. There are so many gorgeous products in this collection. Now, all the supplies that I used to create this project will be listed down in the description box below, along with the supplies for the and everything nice release. Now, all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.